Whatever may have been happening to her husband, the curious political figure of Suella Braverman, once tipped as a future Conservative leader, now scorned by both the party she clings to and the party that many believe she ideologically belongs to. Is she a victim of factional crossfire or merely a cautionary tale of ambition overplayed? Her recent 56-page blueprint for exiting the European Convention on Human Rights, the ECHR, represents more than legal posturing. It's a campaign manifesto, not for the leadership of the Conservative Party, but for a starring role in the new nationalist theatre being built by Reform UK. And therein lies the tragedy. The stage may now be full. They don't want Suella Braverman. So starting with the document itself, Braverman proposes removing the ECHR protections from the Good Friday Agreement and replacing them with domestic common law guarantees. This is radical, but not just legally, but constitutionally and diplomatically. It would require rewriting the Belfast Agreement, risking tensions in Northern Ireland, sending a chill through Britain's international commitments. And her language is incendiary: judicial imperialism, creeping remit, relentless persecution of veterans. This is red meat for the GB News crowd and a dog whistle to voters seduced by Farage's anti-European populism. It is reformist rhetoric, but still branded in Tory blue. And here's the irony. Her policy paper aligns so perfectly with Reform UK's agenda that many assume it's clearing the runway for her defection. Her husband, Rael Braverman, did join Reform, only to resign months later, a few days ago, in protest at attacks by Reform grandee Zia Youssef. Zia Youssef has now upset more people. And Reform now appears to have rejected her in turn, with Youssef describing her as too disruptive. He's only realised that now. Some suspect Farage is keeping his options open for a more pure-blood Tory defector like Jacob Rees-Mogg. In essence, Braverman is ideologically homeless, too extreme for Kemi Badenoch's Conservatives, wow, and too compromised for Reform UK, double wow. Why hasn't she jumped yet? Could she not sense the way things were going? Well, there's three reasons. First of all, the concept of party loyalty. Not that she seems to have a great deal of loyalty or nostalgia. Her family's historic loyalty to the Tories still seems to weigh heavily. She once saw herself as the party's salvation, not its exile. There are rumours of a Tory leadership coup in November, and maybe she is sort of holding her breath, a sort of tactical patience. Her ally, Robert Jenrick, might make a bid. I think he's been ruined. If he wins, of course, she may be rewarded. And there's a personal calculus. Defection could kill her political future. Reform UK is not a stable ship. Farage has enemies within, certainly won't step aside for someone as ambitious and as powerful as Suella Braverman, and Youssef is a walking PR liability. Advance UK is untested and volatile. Why leap into an inferno? Reform is not the promised land. It's a rolling mass of ambition, and it's a deluge of suspicion and factions and counterfactions. Zia Youssef's vulgar online activity and the controversial leak scandal involving Afghan interpreters have tainted the party's supposed moral clarity. And Braverman, for all her flaws, is not without a sense of image and legacy. And being rejected by Reform may wound her ego, but being accepted might destroy her reputation. Her ECHR exit plan is radical, divisive, legally tenuous, but politically potent. You could have said the same about Rwanda, which got nowhere. She's too disruptive for the Conservative leadership under Badenoch. She's too compromised for Farage's increasingly selective reform movement. But she remains popular with some right-wing voters. But she has no electoral base of her own. Her future depends on Reform imploding or the Tory party shifting drastically to the right, which it seems to be going in that direction anyway. So she may simply have been advised to stay put. And her husband has tested the waters and found them unattractive. Suella Braverman is a woman in political limbo, neither fully of the Conservative past nor entirely welcome in the populist future. Her defection was expected, encouraged, even choreographed, but it hasn't materialized. Not because she lacks will, but because nobody actually trusts her. Well, at least there's some realism. In a way, Braverman symbolizes the fragmentation of the British right, ideologically coherent but institutionally incoherent, institutionally bankrupt. The Conservatives are in decline, reform is in flux, and Braverman, fiery, flawed and friendless, is floating between two sinking ships, her compass spinning wildly. Braverman once declared that the time for debating whether we leave the ECHR is over. Well, one might say that the time for debating whether she leaves the Tories is similarly over. She is passé. The only real question left is, will anybody want her? Will anybody have her? And more pertinently still, she's the person who, when you're choosing a school football team, she's the person who's left behind, and people say, well, do you want her? More pertinently still, would anyone help? Would she help anyone? Or simply doom them to her fate by allying herself with them? She is a stinking cargo and a political has-been. She has no future. That is my assessment. She was so badly damaged. I think in some ways she may be even more badly damaged than what's the name of the awful woman? Liz Truss. And I think she is going to take Robert Jenrick with her into that limbo of hopelessness. I think Jenrick, Truss, and Suella Braverman have no real future. But of those three, oddly, I think simply because she rose to the highest position in the land, even if she messed it up, Liz Truss may emerge as an advisor to somebody. But I don't think Jenrick's quarrel with Yusuf yesterday signals his doom there, and I think his behaviour over the last few weeks and his image in the Tory party has slipped. A few months ago, he was clear leadership material. Now he is a puddle on the floor, really. He just needs mopping up and forgetting. Jenrick is past. And Priti Patel is being very quiet. And I think she hopes that by being quiet, everybody will forget the mess that she made. That means that if there is a Tory election campaign for the next leader, and I'm sure there will be, the chances are that we're looking at somebody like Cleverly. I think Jeremy Hunt may try to get in there, but a lot will depend on how much damage has been done by his association with the NHS, because a lot of the whistleblower stuff happened under his watch, and it depends how big that becomes over the next few months. Otherwise, I think my prediction is that the Conservative Party will eventually be led by someone in that old guard, the moderates who will try to bring the Conservative Party back to the centre. I think it's too late. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to revive that corpse, the corpse of conservatism, which has been injected with inadequacy on a weekly basis by Kemi Badenoch.